So last week we talked about caregiver burnout, and we explained quite a few things that a person who's dealing with caregiver burnout can follow to help ease some of the suffering and to probably even put them in a position where they're joyous and get fulfilled again from actually being a caregiver, because obviously caregiving does have its rewards, but sometimes the drawbacks are what we deal with more than not. And today we're going to discuss something we actually left off the video on, which is what what does long suffering look like? Helping repair something you didn't break. Today I'm here with my wife Letoya Lamb,
Hi,
and
everybody.
she's going to be the one that we ask these questions to, because she has dealt with a broken person in me for quite some time. There were tools that I wasn't given when I was younger, and there are tools that I still need to get as an adult, which I'm struggling to find because there's not too many resources out there to teach uh, grown-ups how to deal with traumatic moments, and a lot of times it's very costly. So first I want to start off by asking the question, what is long suffering?
Our marriage. Um, I was looking for biblical definitions, and I didn't know what your question was going to be. Actually, and excuse me, guys. Today was a tough day, and we still decided to um, do this taping because we're feelers, and so you're getting the raw emotion, because sometimes it's better to filter through things, and sometimes it's better to give the raw emotion, no fixing it up. So we're, it's like, have at it. That's what you getting today. I didn't know what you were gonna ask. um I don't know. I don't go over his questions any more than he goes over mine, so it's just off the cuff, as they say. And ironically, right before you pressed record, I really believe in a God thing, so I think that was a God thing. Two words came to me, two, because it has to be opposite. The first word was resentment, and I've lived there for a long time, helping fix what I had absolutely nothing to do with. And the second word was forgiveness, forgiving what I had nothing to do with. And I go back and forth and vacillate between that, both dynamics, a lot. And I think long suffering has everything to do with forgiveness. Um, I could give the definition. So, long suffering means the ability to endure hardship, delay, or provocation without quickly retaliating or losing one's temper. I don't do so well with that all the time, but I'm working on it. Biblically, it had to do with patience, the ability to wait. Another definition says to be long suffering is to have a self restraint when one is stirred to anger. Instead of having a short fuse, it's like having a long fuse. Yeah, patience. This marriage, if it has taught me nothing else, it's taught me patience. Patience in the process of watching watching someone develop from different versions. I mean, I'm not the person I was when we first met. Neither one of us are. And waiting it out, waiting to see the better version. And I've seen my husband do some really ugly versions that he doesn't like to talk about. Neither do I. Neither of us even really like to remember it. But there were some versions that are less favorable to reference. And seeing him wrestle within himself, wrestle with demons, wrestle with being broken and stuff, and still care to work on himself and praying every day. I pray, and I believe he does too, for strength every day to endure with him as he finds the best version of himself. So, long suffering to me is patience, is knowing that this is not the end result that I live with every day.
What do you say to a person that says, I don't have the patience for all that?
Well, you better get it. See, the thing is, well, we're talking about marriages, right? Let's just preface this here, okay? Let's just preface this because if you don't have, we believe in covenant. I very much so believe in covenant. Is not to say we've always handled our covenant the way that God said, but we do now. And we have for quite some time. And covenant is a vow. It's a lifelong, like a blood vow. You know, when we got married, we had it. It's nothing new. People act like it's new now, but I don't know. But we had a sand ceremony. That's what I was trying to create. It's like so cute now, but I was making kind of a mess of it. But it was pretty at the end. And basically to say the only way that we can tear this apart is if we go back in there and remove every piece of sand individually. And basically it's impossible. The covenant is what keeps us together when we have both had enough. I've had enough more times than I can count in a lifetime, and I am not joking. I have had enough, enough, enough. And he has too. But you asking me, so what does a person say who says I don't have that kind of patience? I ain't got that. I understand. I try not to talk about nothing that I don't know nothing about, but I know a lot about this topic. So I understand. I really do. And I would say that my strength and the resilience that I've developed over the years, the patience, the long suffering that has been developed in me over the years, I definitely know it came from God. It's not me. Because if it's up to me, I already gave up a long time ago, multiple times. So I say that to say this. The preface is a married couple. Because if you're a husband and wife and you believe in covenant, covenant is to death do us part. It's not because I had enough. It's not because I don't have it for you. It's not because, you know what, we tried it, we did our best, let's call it. And we've said all of those things. And then some. We just celebrated 21 years. 21 whole years last month. almost 30 years together, more than 2 decades married. And although we got to the point of celebrating our anniversary, it was a tough goal before then. The whole month it happens that way, right? You some people, if it's all lollipops and wonderful and stuff, great, that's wonderful for you. But this is for the ones that it's hard. This is for y'all. This is for us. This is not for the picture perfect. And that's great. We take great pictures actually. We're extremely photogenic. But there's real life behind that. We're not talking about them. We're talking about the ones that don't have the patience. My honest response is you better find some.
Now, what if this person, this is actually not on my questions, but it sparked when you said some things. What if this person is already in a relationship where this person is already considering divorce
Mm-hmm.
because they don't want to be bothered anymore? They expected something completely different. That's another reason why this conversation is important,
Mm-hmm.
because expectation can really rob you of a lot of good things in your life,
Mm-hmm.
because you was expecting something that you decided to have when you was a kid or younger before you met this person, and this person is supposed to fulfill that for you. And one, half of the time they don't even know they're supposed to, and if they do, they may not be equipped to do it.
Yep.
But for that person who is saying, "Look, I'm sick and tired of this. This relationship is not getting any better. I want out." What would you say to that person? Like, okay, this will go into this question actually. Um, what are three ways you can talk? What are three things this person can do when dealing with a person that is broken? What are three things that they can do to support themselves in this situation?
All right. So you definitely just asked me two different questions.
I'm sorry, but it runs into it, right? So I apologize that, but it's like, what can that person do to not only be able to deal with it, but can support themselves in that mess of thinking about leaving.
So that was a lot, and those were two different questions. So I'm gonna try to answer both. The first one was, what about the person who is thinking already are thinking about divorce?
Mm-hmm.
We decided years ago, after some really hard times, not even to say the D word anymore. We used to. We don't anymore. We haven't for at least more than a decade. That's not something that we bring in our marriage. I believe that type of thing brings, um, especially if you already have a dark cloud over your marriage, that just fuels it more. It brings more negative heaviness to your marriage that might already be there. So we don't say the D word, but um, if that is something that you have already allowed yourself, then that's a different story. We made again a covenant. We made it a rule for us a long time ago that the D word is not even an option. So if you go into it with that mindset, then you're not giving yourself that out in your mind or in your heart. So to answer the question, or back to the question, what does a person do if they are already there? Um,
Because I'm sure you was there a
yeah,
few times. Yeah.
yeah, I was there.
Mm-hmm.
I was there. Well, I'm a woman of faith, so I would apologize if you don't want to hear that, but you're on this channel, so I'm not apologizing for that. Um, it's just what it is, guys. But uh, I would, um, me personally, I would pray, and I would really do some soul searching here as to what is it that I agreed to.
Mm-hmm.
And see, again, foundation is key for everything. And you hit the nail on the head, because a lot of people go through that. And the hard thing is, because we were for all intents and purposes. I mean, we were basically kids when we got married. And so, of course, we're not the same people. We've evolved, 10 times over since then, and all of that. So you have these ideals and these, dreams and all of this stuff. Yeah, like you said, when you're younger and what you wanted your life to look like. My life looks very different than the life I wanted when I was younger. And I agreed to a lot of things, but I didn't know what that entailed. And I didn't know, like they say, I didn't know what I didn't know. And the agreement of to death do us part, I meant it, but things did change. And it wasn't anymore. I didn't care after a while about to death do us part. More than that, I mean, obviously that means graveyard death. But we've had death to our marriage more than once. So in that respect, there was death. But that's semantics, and that's if you want to play on words and all of that, that means one is no longer in the land of the living, basically. And I had to make a decision. Um, unfortunately, biblically speaking, I could have gone. I could have had the out. I could have. We both could have. And not to put our business out there, but again, we've been together a lifetime, basically. More than, it feels like more than one lifetime together. And so I could have, um, and I, like I said, I would pray. And the reason why I said that is because I did. And I asked God, like, why do you want me here in this marriage? This is not even biblically sound. This is not even something that you say is okay. I could leave. That was my conversation with God. And it's basically like I got the response back after some time, more like, yes, you could, but I don't want you to. Would you stay? And I mean, the knee jerk reaction, again, is the opposite of long suffering. I was like, heck no, I'm out. I'm out of here. That's it. And I had to make a choice. I had to make a conscious choice. It stopped being, because some those that are listening, I don't know if you have children, all of that. It stopped being for the kids long time ago, long, long time ago. It stopped being for them because at that time they were young, and I wanted to make it work. And then as they got older, I had my out, so to speak, and we went through so many horrible things and losing everything and all of that, and I was done. I was so done. And again, God said to me basically, would you stay? I believed in, I had hope because sometimes when you're going through these things, you lose hope. So there was a season that I lost hope. And when you lose hope, which is maybe where you are, listener, when you lose hope, and man, it makes it so difficult to keep going. It makes it difficult. It makes it almost impossible because now what you were expecting in your life, what you again had hoped your life would look like, um, what you worked for and you worked hard at it, your life doesn't look like that. And my life didn't look like that anymore. So I started to pray and I started to ask God, very deeply and have these soul searching moments within myself. And I still go back to that from time to time. I did recently, actually. And it was, hey, me personally, didn't put all of this time in, all of this effort, all of this work, prayers, blood, sweat, tears. I mean, if we had the time, we don't have the time, but if we had the time to tell you these parts of our story, you would understand more. So I decided within myself, like I didn't do all of this not to get the goal. I didn't. I didn't. And Actually this year on my birthday, I made a few promises to myself. It wasn't about my husband, even our children, our family, none of that. I made the promise to myself as one of them, I will see what I did all of this for. And if I allowed myself some time back to um, just call it, then I would have been letting myself down. So I started staying for me. I started staying, obviously, I believe that God was in different ways. It was like, because I was really searching for an answer at that time. It was like everywhere I turn, ever happened to you, everywhere you turn, you get faced with this thing you're dealing with and you're looking for answers. And so I, I agreed. I agreed and I gave another yes. And that's why you hear us sitting here today. It takes two, right? And so I gave another yes. And so for the person who's listening, your other question was, what would you do? Can you repeat it? What should they do?
What are three things a person can do when dealing with someone that's broken that can support themselves?
Right. So I realized that it takes a lot of energy to be angry.
Mm.
It just takes so much energy. I believe that a lot of illnesses come from that, which it happened to me. I got very sick for a time, and I believe that's.
Wait. You're blaming that on.
I'm not blaming it. I'm not blaming it, but I've actually researched, medically speaking, and many medical professionals, there's underlying factors of unforgiveness that are a catalyst to illnesses. That's been founded. And so that came to me at one time, and I was I guess posed with that question, like, are you willing to do what it takes to be to get better? And because sometimes our out, like, again, medically, I've researched this over the years, the outward, and it's not always, but it does happen. The outward manifestation of illness a lot of times is the inward sickness. And for me, it was bitterness and resentment. I was very angry. And by the way, resentment means a lingering feeling of anger, bitterness, indignation caused by a perceived wrong, insult, or unfair treatment. And I felt for a long time, man, this is not fair. I didn't ask for none of this. It's not my problem. It's not my problem. I am not the one who broke it. And I sang that song for a long time. Dumb people and where you come from and blah 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 blah. The story goes on. The list goes on. And so yeah, I was really angry. I was so angry for a long time. And you got to be careful with that, because that, anger comes out in different ways. And I started to see how my attitude was and how I would respond to my husband, because I resented him. I resented where he came from. I resented all of them. I resented him a lot. And I resented God the most, because he put me in this and kept, you know, basically keeping me in it. And so that took years to get through, years. And it still resurfaces from time to time, but now I can identify what it is, and I deal with it right away. I deal with it head on. And because some areas of unforgiveness, it doesn't just go away overnight. You got to work at your forgiveness. You got to work at your healing. And so I allow myself to feel all the feelings and go through the grief, go through the trauma and the triggers, and just go through those processes. One thing for sure that you should do for yourself not your spouse, not your children, not nobody else who has some type of expectation of you. Because when I leave this earth, I'm going by myself. So I believe in God and therapy. I think that it would be very helpful to get an outside view, a trusted outside view, not just some quack who needs their own therapy. No, I personally believe in biblically based therapy, just because everybody got their own problems. I need to know that we at least see eye to eye on this area, on this foundation before you talking to me. And yeah, get some therapy. Get some therapy, get someone to help you walk through the healing process. And so that you can get to the next part, which is a daily thing, is daily. Sometimes it's more times than once in one day, and that's forgiveness. Um, for me, it's that 70 times 7. It's that every time, like it's been said, when the thought comes back, when the action comes back, when the behavior trait comes back, all right? I'm not saying that you're a doormat. You are not. I am not. No one is that. You're not a doormat. But what I'm saying is forgiveness opens doors to true healing. And forgiveness is the conscious, deliberate decision. It's a deliberate decision to release those feelings of da 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 da. Release the feelings of resentment, anger, or vengeance towards someone who has harmed you. Um, so that's why I preface this in the beginning. And if you're not married to that person, you don't have a covenant with this person, no true vow. I can't say that nothing's keeping you there. It's your conscious choice to stay if you want to stay. Yes, it's the same in marriage, but covenant is different. So I would say get some therapy. What I'm finding that has been very helpful for me is to feed your own soul what makes you happy, what brings you joy. Um, because when you're dealing with someone who's broken, a lot of time their brokenness affects you, and you end up being brought into their brokenness. Again, it has nothing to do with you. A lot of it may have nothing to do with you. Now, I'm gonna say this: we've been together for more than 2 decades, so we've caused each other some pain and some trauma, unfortunately, over the years. So maybe you do have something to do with it, but I'm talking about the parts that have nothing to do with you. Um, it's important to have a healthy outlet to refuel you. Um, so yeah, I would say therapy. I would say continuing to do something outside of your marriage, outside of that relationship, a healthy thing. Now, healthy. Let's preface that. Healthy that brings you joy. It could be your vocation, it could be your hobby, your gifts, whatever it is that brings you joy. I like dancing, skating, photography, whatever it is that brings you joy that will refuel your tank. And again, the last part is um, something that will help refuel you when you are being depleted from um, caring for your spouse who is broken.
Give an example where you had to learn how to long suffer and get through.
Oh my God. That's the question.
Yeah, yeah, it's a question.
Um, I, again, I don't like to talk about things that I don't know anything about, but I could write a book about this, and I'm working on it. Actually, right now, I've been for a bit. so I could talk about this. And um okay, I I was I would it's, I wish I didn't have so much background in this area, but I do. So I think, I mean, there's many, but one area of long suffering. Where is it? Can you read the question? Where? Let me see. Give an example where you had to learn.
Give an example of where you had to learn how to love, suffer, and get through.
Long suffering. Um, so my husband comes from a lot of trauma. So, um, that's one example of some of the trauma from his childhood. With school, I mean, I'll only bring that up. I don't want to get too personal, but yeah, that's an example. I've seen how the effects of what happens when you are a child is not corrected in childhood. Like, it's helpful if it's worked through in childhood, but when it's not worked through in childhood, what can, and in this case has happened, is that it lingered and it was unresolved in childhood. So then what happens is, whatever we, you've heard that saying, y'all, whatever we don't deal with in our childhood, it shows up later on in our life. It shows up in other relationships, business relationships, different areas. So one of the ways I've gotten through that, seeing how these areas of my husband's childhood has affected him, um, throughout our life together and our marriage together, has been allowing him to express himself and talk about it. Because when we're kids, this is why I'm real big on the children. That's a very touchy and soft area for me. Just because they're children doesn't mean that they're not people, and they have feelings, and it is valid, and we need to listen to them. Let them tell you what's hurting them. Let them tell, even if it's you. We have to do that. And so, because that was not done for my husband, I had to work through listening to him talk about the same thing a lot, allowing him to um, find and exercise his voice, because it was so shut down as a child. So becoming a man, um, walking him through with him through that, what it is to stick up for himself and what it is to self advocate, what it, all of these different things, and how I got through it was, I guess, yeah, reflecting on some of the times that I was not allowed to, and I didn't have the same childhood as my husband. As a matter of fact, I had an exact opposite childhood for the most part. But it doesn't mean that there weren't times in my life that I cannot um, relate to what it is to not have a voice and not being able to express myself. So, uh, as best as you can, if you could get out of your head about your own issues that you're dealing with your spouse, or that you're just dealing with on your own, and try to put yourself in their shoes. That helped me. That helped me. I started to reflect on the times that I was not allowed to express myself, and the times where I really needed to share what was hurting me and it wasn't taken seriously. And um what that did to me. And then translating it to a young boy turned man who's dealing with the results of that experience, that started to help me work through that with you.
Hmm. How do you handle the pressure of carrying the weight of a broken person?
Oh my God. How do I handle the weight?
I mean, this is very touchy. This is not one of those, just have a conversations and just say, "Oh, this is great. This is wonderful. This is probably by far the most difficult video I've ever done in my life."
That's saying a
Because
lot, y'all. I hope y'all know that. Because
because
they've done so many, hundreds.
yeah, because aside from all the things that I've done in my life to work on myself, to fix myself, in the times that I was working on myself, I was also being hit with life and being interrupted time after time after time to deal with everyday life. Like, people don't tell you that when you're a child, they don't tell you when you grow up, nobody's going to give a damn about you in a way that is conducive to your development as a male adult. They're not going to care. It's going to, well, just go get counseling, which seems easy until you try to go get counseling. Um, it's not as easy as people may say it is, because if you don't have the money to pay for counseling, it's quite difficult to find someone that's willing to sit down and talk to you for an hour to help you get through your issues. So a lot of times you got to go out, do the work that is required of you as whatever. Like, let's if you're a caregiver, you have to be there for those children. You can't just get up and say, I'm having a bad day. I need a mental day. I'm going to take off momming today and just go do something else. You can't just do that. I can't just tell my boss, "Hey, I'm not coming in today because I'm dealing with something that happened to me when I was 9." You know what I mean? Like, I don't have that ability.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody really cares about what you're going through when you become an adult. You have to deal with that stuff on your own time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not easy to just up and work on yourself, especially when you don't know how to work on yourself, because it's not like they give a class at the college on how to work on self. This is something you that every individual has to embark on personally and alone. So in that time, there is going to be a level of weight thrown on whomever is loving that person, because that person can't a lot sometimes you don't know you're bleeding. You've been bleeding for so long, you just think that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So if I grew up thinking, well, this is just, people say, this is, I've always been this way, and you're just gonna have to accept me for who I am. You hear that all the time,
It's craziness,
right?
though.
But it's insanity to
It
say
is.
that, to expect somebody to deal with that,
Yeah.
because even grace will run out at some point.
Yeah.
All right. The Bible says, shall grace abound? And the writer said, God forbid.
Mm-hmm.
Because why should someone keep having to deal with this over and over and over? At some point, you have to get better. But in that time of interruption, in that time of not having the tools or the support system to help me through certain things, I'm pretty sure you had to carry weight that you was never meant to carry.
Yeah.
So that's why this question is so important. But yes, this is difficult to talk about, because yeah, it's like it's opening up our marriage to a world that might need this conversation.
It's tough, y'all. This is something that was presented to us, a thought, a declaration, and it's hard when you are the blueprint. It's hard. when you're the map, you don't realize it. And like, wow, maybe we went through all of this to help somebody else. And it's hard, but there's grace for that. Um, can you repeat the question, please?
How do you handle the pressure of carrying the weight of a broken person?
Yeah. Y'all might get tired of hearing it, but this is how I live. I pray a lot. I bring my grievances to God. I cry it out. I scream it out. I done left so many times I can't even count, honestly. I pray. I meditate. I this answer goes along with the other answers I was saying before. I am deliberate at disconnecting when I need it. That's one tangible example that I can give you, because maybe you don't pray, maybe you don't care nothing about that, but it works for me. It has helped me to help this family. Prayer has helped me to stay present in this marriage and not check out time and time again. God have given me the strength. So I lean on the strength that God has. I lean on the Lord. And then I try to stay connected to my own soul. Because what happens is when you are caring for someone that's broken, again, you end up absorbing their issue. You end up absorbing what they're working through. And so I've been very deliberate, especially lately in the past few months. Everybody, all at the beginning of the year, whatever. I don't make resolutions. I just, you know, I pray and ask God to lead me throughout the year. But one area that I've been deliberate about is staying connected to my own soul and hearing my heart, hearing what is hurting me, what is out of balance from myself. Yeah. And, a thought just occurred to me because it's something that I was working through around my birthday. I'm learning to listen to my inner child when she's telling me that hurts or too much, whatever it is, you know, she might want to play, whatever it is that's going to feed me so that I can be present for the journey from brokenness to wholeness. That's what I do. I I I haven't in a long time. One area that I would suggest that I haven't done in a long time, I'm so shocked to even say it out loud, but I'm a journaler. I journal a lot. I have for years, and I don't know, in this past season I just maybe I've been too busy to journal in that way, but that's very cathartic for me. Um and that helps me during the process of helping my husband as best as I can. I'm not no fixer. I'm not even a doctor. I ain't none of that. I'm me. But what I do have, I try to guard it, protect it, and keep it refueled so that I can be of use. If that kind of answers the question somehow.
Mm-hmm.
I try to do that so that I can be present while my husband is healing, while you are going through what you're going through. I try to listen to my own soul, and I work hard at, because I'm not great at it. So that's why the question hit me hard, because sometimes I'm okay with it and sometimes I'm doing real bad at it because it's been too much. So I'm working at, and for a long time this has been big to me, balance. Because when things are out of balance, when a person is out of balance, when anything is out of balance, it's bad. It doesn't turn out good. So I'm learning to, again, listen to my own soul and not be engulfed into what you're going through, but at the same time to be present, so that you are not isolated and feel like you are going through it alone, but that you're not going through it alone, but to stay balanced within myself. That's something I've been working diligently at. Like, it's a conscious choice. Like, forgiveness is conscious. You're consciously choosing to forgive. You're choosing to release that. And in the same way, I'm choosing to be present. Is a choice every day. You're choosing to be present, choosing to listen to my own soul, and pray through it. That's what I do. That's how I live.
Hmm. Well, I think that is it for this video. I'm not sure if we have anything else that we can discuss. We done answered all the questions. Is there anything else you want to add to before we close it out?
Um, Man, this was hard. I would just say stay stay the course. Again, if you are married and you are helping a broken spouse, because we talked about from a woman, the wife's perspective for the husband, but brokenness is brokenness. It's gonna be the husband for the wife.
Yeah, so we're focusing on me because truth be told, I'm still dealing with it, and it's not as cut cut and dry and easy as a lot of people may look at it. Just go get counseling. People been in counseling for years and still are broken. Okay, counseling don't does not fix everything. All right, especially when that person is still responsible for other things in life that clouds the ability to work on yourself. I think that's probably what be the next video that we talk about is working on yourself and digging in to allow God to take those roots out. But in order to take those, and this is something that I can say right now before we continue, there are things inside me that I'm not aware of. My brain blocked it out. My body still responds to the trauma of it though. Because I'll have an emotion or I'll have an experience or I'll have something happen and my body reacts in a certain way that it's almost uncontrollable. I just don't. A certain smell can trigger it.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't really realize why you're feeling so antsy or nervous or guilty or weird. You just feel it and you're like, what the heck is wrong with me? And before you know it, you're going down a spiral path. And that spiral is dangerous, man. Once you start hitting a spiral, you first off, knowing that you're going down a spiral and identifying with that before you spiral completely is it's so vital. It's so vital. And I've learned my triggers when I can be doing so great all week long, every win after win after win after win, and it's that one thing that hits. It can be a question, it can be a demand, it can be a response, it can be anything, and it starts that spiral path down, and before you know it, I'm in this place again and I don't know how to get out. There's a lot to it when I say you can talk about it until you're blue in the face, but until you can identify what's really bothering you, what's really the root of it, you really can't name it. That's why it's so important to be able to name that thing, right? It's important to be able to name because once you name it, you can take the power back.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I first started naming my trauma around um, sexual immorality and how it had such a grip on me. Now, again, I was not a perpetrator. I wasn't the type of guy to go around and do this, but that usually was my price. I mean, not my price, my payment for entry. I will be willing to give my body away and not just sexually. It can be in money. It can be in work ethic. It could be giving way too much of my time to a project and I'm not getting paid or compensated properly for it. It doesn't have to always manifest in sexual favors. Sometimes it's just, did I earn my way to stay in your life? And I'll do the over and beyond thing, and then when I don't get compensated for it, or that person decides to take their love away from me, whether it's a job, whether it's a conversation, whether it's a relationship, I'll feel like I was abandoned, not realizing it was because of what I was dealing with back in the day. So once I was able to name what it was, it lost its grip on me. That doesn't mean that it's still not there. I still think about it sometimes, and sometimes I do get the feeling it's still in there. That's the reason why the Bible says the body has to die. It must die. So those things can die with the body. You can't take that with you. But it is very important that you're able to name that thing, man. If you can't name it, it's almost impossible to get rid of it. You have to be able to name what's bothering you. So if you don't even know, because your mind has this weird way of blocking things out. If you don't even know what you're dealing with or why your body is responding this way, why are you feeling antsy? There are women that report that they don't even like their spouses touching them a certain way because it makes them feel icky because of what somebody did to them previously in another relationship or an experience that was never meant to happen. So touching a woman that's been through this kind of trauma on her shoulders behind her makes her feel very uncomfortable. When I get touched on my shoulder by some random person, I feel uncomfortable. It's just what it is. Um, but that doesn't mean that you can't beat it. It just takes time. And for those of you who are dealing with somebody that is broken, that has gone through some traumatic moments, understand that yes, it may not be you may not be the one that did the breaking, but you chose this person. Okay? You said yes to this person. You said till death do us part with this person. And going through this thing with that person is it can be very burdensome. It can be very frustrating. It can be very draining. But imagine what it's going to be on the other side. Okay, if God is telling the truth about what He's doing, if God says I'm going to finish a good work in you, if God is saying that, then being there for the end result is going to be a benefit. There's going to be a reward for that. You're going to see the person that comes out on that other side. And all these traumatic moments that you're having right now, all the problems that you're having with your spouse, all the frustration, the broken days, the messed up moments, all those things, they're going to pass away. You're going to forget those things. God promised us that. So if that's the truth, then working through this is important, but you must also take care of self. Okay, you must, and that's why we're doing these videos, so you can understand that it is okay for you to take some time away for yourself. It is okay for you to say, baby, look, I need some time to myself. I really do. I am not abandoning you. I am not leaving you by yourself. I'm not. I'm just taking some time for me so I can breathe. That is okay. All right. So, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, if you're married, like I was saying, I think you should you should stay the course. It's important to finish what we start, and that's coming from me. I have a problem finishing things, but I don't anymore. I'm working at that very diligently, but it's important that we finish what we started. And if you're married, God loves marriage. Um, and Jesus is the prime example. So If he did it and no, we ain't him, I tell you, I'll be the first to tell you, I ain't him.
I'm not Jesus.
I ain't him. I ain't him. I ain't. But I'm trying to live a certain way in honoring God and being here, present, pressing through in this marriage. I believe with all my heart that it is honoring God. And yeah, if he won't leave my husband, if he won't give up on him, then I shouldn't either. So I think that that's something that you should think about on the days that um, calling it looks really appealing. Should think about that because God is still there rooting for you, just like he's rooting for your broken spouse. So yeah, that's what I have to say.
Well, thank you guys for listening to our video.
Thank you.
Hopefully, this has supported you in some way. For those who are thinking about divorcing or thinking about giving up on their relationship before they see the finished product, I caution you to think that through thoroughly. Because if God is in this, and you truly believe that God is in this, that man or that woman who comes out on the other side is going to shine like a diamond. And God forbid you make a terrible mistake of walking away too soon. This is Gary. I'm signing off. You guys have a good one.